And okay, we are recording now. So what I want you to do is to take a minute or two and write a sentence or two telling us what you did yesterday. Okay, so you can just write it directly in the chat. You can turn on your microphone and you can say it however you like. So Karim writes, yesterday I met with a friend and then I worked. Okay, that's very good, Karim. Thank you. Who else? Genesis. Yesterday I was studying and doing work for my classes. Okay, good. Ingalis. Yesterday, after leaving online classes, I worked. Jose Lascano. Yesterday, I was studying for a quiz. Hennessy's comments, it's not good. What isn't good? No, that's good. Your sentence was good, Hennessy's. Josue. Yesterday, I was studying for calculus and algorithm for further exams. Okay, Gabriela. Yesterday, I worked every day. Okay, in this case, you should use all day because every day es decir todos los días. So ayer trabajé todos los días is what you're saying. Y cuando quieres decir que ayer trabajé todo el día. Okay, good. Natalie, yesterday I took my dog to the vet. I hope he was okay, or she. Yesterday I was studying German and learned a few words like danke, which means thank you. Okay, very good. I know how to count to 9 in German. That's all I know. Not even 10. Swanhady, yesterday I studied all day. Odalis, I took care of my nephew yesterday. Okay. Najeli, yesterday I visited my grandma and I studied. Okay. Alexis, yesterday I was studying and watching TV. Omar, yesterday I visited my grandparents. Lismari studied for a test. Lisanji read for her ethics class. Okay, that's good. Yesterday I was studying for physics. Okay, good. All right, so all of you took the time to write a sentence in the past tense. You may not have noticed you were writing in the past tense, but the fact that you were answering a question describing what you did yesterday, you automatically went into the past tense. Sebastian wrote, I went for a walk with my friends in the evening. That sounds nice. All right, so let's continue. You guys are still seeing the presentation, right? You're not seeing the chat? I ask because I have two screens.
I see the presentation.
Okay, good. All right. As I was saying, I asked because I have two screens, the computer monitor here and then the presentation here, which is where the camera is, by the way. So I wasn't sure what you were seeing. And Angelo added, yesterday I rode a bicycle, I studied for chemistry, and then I went to work. Okay? And this one, you forgot to conjugate the verbs into the past tense, but it is understandable because of the context of the question, and of course, because you wrote yesterday. All right, let's continue. So here, really how we can tell the difference between one tense and the other is basically how we conjugate that verb. So there are verbs that we call regular, and there are verbs that we call irregular. So hay regulares e irregulares. Regular verbs are verbs that follow the verb modification rule and can be changed by adding ed or d at the end. A lot of you already did that. For example, Lismari, I studied for a test. We take that base verb study in the present form, and then we add ed, and it becomes studied in the past tense. That's good. Now, there are irregular verbs. Those are verbs that can't be modified with ed or d. And there isn't really a particular rule for these verbs, so you kind of have to memorize them. They are in page 32 of the grammar book. Remember, it's called Fundamentals of English Grammar. If you don't have the book, try to get in contact with one of your peers. Maybe they can scan the book for you, take a copy of the pages, etc. We're not going to work with the book just yet, but it's good that you have it. Other lists that list the irregular verbs are on the front and the back cover of the book. So basically, you open up the book, and before that first page, you're going to see the list. Hold on. Okay. So the simple past. The simple past is used to talk about an action that started and ended in the past. Basically, it's an action that is in the past completely. It doesn't overlap into the present at all. It is already done and ended. So the formula for this is very similar to the simple present. There is one big difference, though. So we have the subject, which is, of course, who or what we're talking about. We have the verb, this time in the past tense. And then, of course, we have the rest of the information. So really, how you conjugate this verb, how you put it into the past tense, that is how you specify, for example, present from past or simple past from past progressive, which we're going to see very soon. For example, we moved to a new house. We have the main verb here, move, to which we added d, and it became moved, which is past tense. We moved to a new house. We have number 2 here, which is they brought a sandwich. This verb brought is actually irregular. The present form of this verb is bring, and you conjugate it into the past tense by writing it as brought. Number 3, I took my cat to the veterinary. This main verb here, took, is also irregular. Its present form is take, so you change it from take into took. Number 4, my girlfriend's birthday was on Monday. And here we have a different form of the main verb because we are using the be verb, which of course in the present would be am, are, or is. In the past tense, we use was or were. And since it is working, since it is the only verb in the sentence, it is actually working as the main verb. So states of being can be main verbs. So my girlfriend's birthday was on Monday. Number 5, I picked up the phone and answered your call. If you notice, there are actually 2 verbs within the sentence. We have picked up and answered. So pick and answered are both, they're both regular verbs, to which we just added ed at the end. And you can have more than one verb. You can have much more than one verb within a sentence. Of course, the longer your sentence is, the more complicated it may be. But yes, you can have more than one verb within a sentence, which actually helps entering our next topic, which would be the past progressive. So the past progressive also contains a subject. Of course, you're always going to have a subject in a sentence. We have the be verb, which has an asterisk here. The be verbs are was or were in the past tense. We have the verb which ends with ing, and then we have the rest of the information. So it's the same thing as the present progressive, except we change the be verb. So let's talk about that be verb. We use was or we use were. And how can we tell when to use one or the other? Well, was is for singular subjects. So I was, he was, or my father was, for example. And we use were when we are talking about plurals. Remember, plural is more than one. So it could be we were friends, or they were working, etc. For example, sentence 1, I was walking. We have the be verb was with the main verb walk, to which we added ing. We were sleeping. Now we went from a singular to a plural. So now we, que significa nosotros, we were sleeping. The cat was yawning. We're talking about just one single cat. And of course, we use the main verb, the be verb was and the main verb with ing. Number 4, my dad was calling. I, of course, have only one father, so we use was. And finally, number 5, the students were crying. There's more than one student, of course, and of course, all the students were crying for some reason. I don't know why. Continuing with the past progressive. Past progressive indicates a limited duration of time. It is a convenient way to indicate that something took place in the simple past while something else was happening. For example, Carlos lost his watch while he was running. We have two different actions here. Of course, that's why there's two different verbs. What happened? Well, Carlos lost his watch. When did he lose his watch? When he was running. I don't know if that indicates that you should not run, or you should not wear a watch, or you should not wear a watch while running, but that doesn't really matter. So I color-coded the verbs according to their tense so you could see it a little bit more clearly. So of course, we have the main verb lost, which is in the simple past. It's also an irregular verb. Its present form would be lose. And then we have this one in purple, which is past progressive, and it is the verbs was running. Okay, we use was because Carlos is just one person, and then of course we add ing to the verb run. Okay, so we see here that we can begin the sentence with a simple past verb and then end the sentence with a past progressive verb. Okay, but of course the past progressive can also express incomplete actions. Okay. For example, I was sleeping on the couch when Alejandro smashed through the door. Okay. We use was sleeping to denote the past progressive in this form. Of course, that's why it's purple. And what was I doing when Alejandro smashed through the door? I was sleeping. This action is incomplete because I didn't finish sleeping. We could actually change this was sleeping into slept, for example, but then this whole sentence would be simple past instead of past progressive. Anyways, if you notice something here, there is the order of the verbs has changed. Oh, hold on. So the order of the verbs was changed. In this first sentence, we started with simple past, and then we ended with past progressive. But as you can see here, it is possible to begin with past progressive and end with simple past. If you noticed, both these sentences have both simple past and past progressive. So how do we know whether or not to classify them as simple or as progressive? Well, automatically, if you see that it has a progressive form of the verb in it, it automatically is progressive. Okay? As long as it has one progressive, it automatically becomes progressive. You'll see that now. You'll see that soon. So what is the difference between simple and past progressive? I took 3 sentences and I expressed them in the simple and the progressive past. The first sentence would be, the lady talked to the policeman. Okay, in the simple past, all we have to do is add ed to that main verb. In the past progressive, we take that main verb, talk, we end it with ing, and of course we add the be verb before it. If you look at the words within this first sentence, you'll see that they are the exact same words. The lady, and then to the policeman. Same thing with the past progressive. The lady to the policeman. The only thing that changed was how we expressed that main verb. So in the simple past, we just added ed, and in the past progressive, we added the be verb and we ended it with ing. The second sentence, I ate an apple this morning. We take this irregular verb. Of course, the present form would be eat. We express it in the past, which is ate. And of course, this morning doesn't specifically denote the past, but in this context, it does imply it is in the past. Of course, it is implied because of the verb. And of course, the past progressive. I was eating an apple this morning when I ran into Pedro. To make it progressive, we actually had to add a little bit of information. Remember that, as is said in the previous slide, past progressive indicates that something took place while something else was happening. So while I was eating an apple, I ran into Pedro. And then if we analyze this verb here, of course, we have was eating, which is progressive, and then ran into, which this phrasal verb is actually in the simple past. So of course, as long as we have this one progressive form, this one progressive verb within the sentence, it's automatically progressive. The next sentence is, Julián and I wrote a great story last night. Just like the first sentence, the words that are within the sentence are the same within the simple past and the past progressive. The only thing that changes is how we express that main verb. So instead of using write, which is its present form, it's irregular, sorry. We use wrote, which is in the past tense, and that would be it for the simple past. And the past progressive, we change it to writing, which is basically the ing form of write in the present form. And we do add the be verb in the past tense. I'm going to explain that a little bit further soon. So let's review the simple past and the past progressive. So the simple past, as I mentioned, it is something that occurred entirely within the past. If you see this little graph here, this center is the present, whatever's to the right is future, whatever is to the left is past. If you see here, there is no connection between this event and the present. This is already in the past, and it's going further left every second. Versus in the past progressive, we have one event that was occurring when another event happened. And then, of course, those events ended at some point in the past, and they are not actually happening at this moment. Everything is already done and said. So the simple past is used to talk about an activity that began and ended at a particular time in the past. Oh, God. Sorry. So, for example, yesterday, last night, 2 days ago, and 2007, as in these two sentences here. So Mary walked downtown yesterday, and I slept for 8 hours last night, which is a lie. The past progressive expresses an activity that was in progress at a point of time in the past when another action occurred. And these are all in the past as well. Let's take a look at sentence C. It says eating was in progress at 6:10. In other words, eating was in progress when Tom came. We have this sentence here. I was eating dinner when Tom came. Let's delve a little bit deeper into that one. Basically, what we're saying is that I sat down at the dinner table at 6 p.m. yesterday. Tom came to my house at 6:10. So Those are the two events. I was eating, then as I was eating, somebody else came. We could also mention sentence D. I went to bed at 10. The phone rang at 11. If you went to bed at 10 and then the phone rings an hour later, that means you were sleeping when the phone rang. Of course, there are ways to use the past progressive in different forms. So there's positive statements, there's negative statements, there's questions, and short answers. So for positive and negative statements, we use the pronouns I, he, she, and it, and you, we, they in the same way. So I, he, she, and it in both positive and negative, we use was. So I was working, she was working, he wasn't working, it wasn't working. And then, of course, we use the pronouns you, we, and they in the same form as well. So you were working, we were not working, and they were or weren't working. Okay, so what I'm saying here is that these first four pronouns use was, which are I, she, he, and it. And those who use the were be verb are you, we, and they. And of course, you can denote either singular or plural. It all depends on how you use it within the sentence. But let's not talk about that right now. So if you noticed in the positive and the negative statements, we start with the pronoun, we continue with the be verb, and then we end with the main verb ending with ing. Those are statements. But with questions, we actually change some of that around. So with questions, we begin with the past be verb, which is either was or were. We continue with the pronoun, and then we use the main verb with ing. So to make a question, you would say, if you say I was working, you would ask, was I working? And you're using the same words, you're just shuffling their order around to make it grammatical. And of course, if the question is, was I working? The short answer would be, yes, I was. Were you working? No, you weren't. Okay, let's continue. So I want you guys to do a little bit of practice for me. I want you to create sentences in both simple past and past progressive with those three following verbs, which are study, break, and cut. I'm going to write those instructions in the chat. Entonces Guillermo yesterday. Oh wait, no, this is from earlier. I just saw it later. Okay, so empezando con José. Okay. Oh yeah. So I'll just give you a minute or two, maybe a little bit more if you need to, so you can write your sentences. You're going to write 6 sentences total. Okay. 2 sentences using study, 2 sentences with break, 2 sentences with cut. Okay. One of those sentences is going to be simple past, and the other sentence is going to be past progressive. I'm going to give you a moment. I will be right back. Okay, so Angelo writes, I was studying for math class. Angelo, how could you write that same sentence in the simple past instead? Karim, study. Yesterday I studied for my classes, and in the past progressive, my friend and I were studying for English class. Okay, that's good. You changed the verb from studied, ending with ed, and you modified it into were studying, which is correct. Josue. Simple past. Some friends have come to study with me. Some friends have come. Okay, that's good. Have come to study. Okay, that's good. Luis Avellanet. Maria studies for the quiz. Luis, you changed that S into a D, and then you would change that into the simple past. If you leave it as studies ending with an S, that would be present. So make sure that you change that S into a D. Swanavy, study. I studied at the university, and I was studying at the university. That's very good. Angelo, yesterday I studied for math class. Okay, Angelo, here your main verb study is in its present form. You have to make sure that you conjugate it into the past. Alexis, I study very hard each day. Same problem, Alexis. You have to conjugate study into the past tense. So it would be studied, S-T-U-D-I-E-D. And in the past progressive, I am studying for my class. Okay, that's good, Alexis. Make sure you conjugate that verb in your simple past sentence. Josue, while I was in class, I received a refund. Okay? If you notice, I didn't say have. I omitted have from the sentence, which you should do as well. When you add have, it actually becomes another form, which we're not going to discuss yet. But if you just say, while I was in class, I received a refund, that would be perfect. And actually, it wouldn't be progressive, it would be simple. Luis Avellanet is responding to is present progressive. Where is? No. Luis, your sentence, Maria studies for the quiz, would be simple. And right now it's in the simple present. If you meant to write it as the past progressive, you would say Maria was studying. Okay? Remember that progressive has the be verb and the main verb with ing. Okay, let's continue. Jelianis, I studied with my friends and I was studying for the test. Simple and progressive, good, and they're both in the past. Lismari, SP, my friends studied in my house. Okay, good. Studied is exactly right. So this would be simple past. Very good. Josue, simple. Laura broke her friend's phone. Remember that break is an irregular verb, which means you don't conjugate it by adding ed. Instead, you change something about that word. So instead of break, it would be broke. Okay. Yes, Luis. But remember, we're not writing simple present. We're supposed to be writing simple past. Joniet. I studied every day, and I was studying every day. Perfect. Sonheidi, la palabra break, ¿en qué sentido está escrita? Okay. Just like I mentioned earlier, sorry, I'm responding as I see. Josue used that same verb break, but break is irregular and he used it as regular. So you don't add ed. The way that you can use break in the past tense would be broke. I'm going to write it in the chat. B-R-O-K-E. Ahora sí. Okay, le estaba respondiendo Son Haley. Karim, break. Simple past. I broke my laptop while I was typing. Karim, that is perfect. And I hope that is not true. Genesis. And study and Simple past. Yesterday, I studied for my biology class. Yesterday, I studied. Very good. Past progressive. My best friend and I were studying at my home. In my home. Okay. That's good. These are both very good. Hennessy's. Michelle. I study all day at my house. Okay. Michelle, remember that we're we're writing the simple past, not the simple present. So you have to remember to conjugate that verb. Instead of study, S-T-U-D-Y, you would write it at S-T-U-D-I-E-D. I'll write it in the chat. With a little bit of an explanation next to it. Okay. Najeli just said study. Okay, she is continuing her. Okay. So Najeli wrote, I studied for a quiz for today. They broke the mirror and my sister cut papers for her art class. I'll get back to this in just a second. Lisanji, yesterday I studied with my brother. That would be simple past. Actually, hold on. Okay, so I'm presenting this very same screen so you can see the chat, so I can highlight stuff. Me quedé aquí con Lisanji. Yesterday I studied with my brother, which is good. Progressive would be my brother and I were studying all night. So studying would be S-T-U-D-Y-I-N-G. So you take that present form, study, and then you add ing to that. Alexis, I broke my phone. Okay. Gabriel is breaking a glass. Okay. The problem with this one, Alexis, is that you're using a present form of the be verb, and we are working with the past progressive. So the only thing that you would need to change in this sentence to make it change from present to past would be this be verb. So instead of saying is, you could say was. So Gabriel was breaking a glass, and automatically that changes from present to past. And it keeps being progressive. Najeli, he studied for his exam yesterday. That's good in the simple past. Guillermo, I studied for a quiz for today. Good. They broke the mirror. Okay. My sister cut the papers for her art class. Cut is an irregular verb because you don't really do anything to it. You cut in the present, you cut in the past, and you will cut in the future. Continuing, Jelianis. My sister broke my necklace. Okay, that is correct in the simple past. I was breaking ice cubes. Okay. Angelo, last night my brother and I broke the wall. Okay, that is correct. My brother and I broke, exactly right. That would be simple past. Najeli, we were studying for our exam in the morning. Now that's progressive in the past. Okay, good. Also, yesterday I studied for a quiz. My phone broke last week. Yesterday I cut myself on accident. All right, this is good. And progressive. I was studying when my friend called me. Good. I was walking when my phone broke. Good. I was cutting the grass when my mother called for help. Okay, good. My phone broke yesterday. Would be simple past. Okay. This is me. Olalis. The kids were studying in a creative way. That would be progressive. Simple would be the children without the S. The children study art with a new teacher. Remember that you would have to use the past form of this, which is actually right above your comment, which would be right here, studied. So the children studied art with a new teacher. That's good. Nayeli, break. Is she breaking the book? That's correct. Josue, yesterday I was breaking old notebooks. Okay, old without the S. I broke my finger. Yes. My dog broke my flower pot. Yeah. Those are two words, by the way. So flower space pot. Good. Jelianis, he cut the grass. I was cutting papers. Good. We were cutting the paper when the teacher came. I cut my hair every week. Okay. I broke my brother's trophy. My cats were playing around the TV and they broke it. Okay. I cut some wood so we can make fire. All right. I cut a paper. Gabriel was cutting the yard. So on Havy, I broke her heart when we were together. I was breaking her heart when we were together. Remember, this would be was breaking. And Hennessy's finally, my sister broke her new AirPods and they were breaking all the notebooks. Okay? So remember that you use breaking. This goes for Swanhavy and Hennessy's. Joniel. She broke the pencil. Okay, let me see if I can write it as this. Simple would be simple past. Broke. Past progressive. Okay. So Sonhavy, Hennessy's, and Joniel. I'll take a look at this over here. If you use broke, that would be for the simple past. If you use break just by itself, that would be present. And if you're doing past progressive, then you could use was or were and breaking. Michelle, I was breaking my mind with his words. Okay? Breaking my mind with his words. Rompiéndome la cabeza con sus palabras. Okay, that makes sense. I was cutting the tall grass while listening to music. That's very good. Okay, guys, so you seem to have a good understanding. You still need, some of you need a little bit of help with the conjugation of certain verbs, but that's okay. That's what we're here for. So let's continue to the next slide, which I'm sure you're not seeing. Give me a second. Okay, and look, I saw Sube. Hennessy's wrote, they were breaking all the notebooks. Yes. And Rachel wrote, I studied for physics class. She broke her leg. She cut her hand when she was cooking. All right, Rachel, that's good. And Hennessy's, that's good too. So you should be seeing this, this picture, I guess, the spelling of ing and ed forms. So it's basically showing you how, when to add ing and whether or not to add another consonant. So it's kind of like the word run. When you are writing run in the progressive, let's say in the past progressive, you would say she was running, which would be past progressive. We use run and then we add ing, but before that, we add another n. So we double that consonant. This is basically helping you keep an eye on that. The next and final slide would be basically how to pronounce certain verbs. So specifically these that end with ed, we don't say talked, we don't say watched, we don't say robbed, we say talked, watched, robbed. It's like the E is silent. But there are some words in which we do say the ed, such as wait, waited, need, needed. But yeah, that's just for you guys to peruse on your own time. I'm not going to go too deep into this. For now, I think that would be it. Well, yeah, we're pretty much done with this. So guys, make sure that you voted for the novel. I'm going to be checking on Friday whether or not there's any changes. If there is a clear winner on Friday, then that would be the novel we use. If there is no clear winner by Friday, then I will do another vote, and the top 3 would be the main selections for you to choose from. So just so we can have a clear winner, because, yeah. Anyways, guys, it is time for today. Remember that our next class is Friday, but of course we don't meet on Fridays. So just estén pendiente Canvas on Friday at some point during the day. I will be uploading the material for that day. Of course, any assignments that you have will be due for Sunday. And then, of course, you'll have an additional week to complete that before it's closed. So, you know, just make sure that you guys don't let anything pass. Si completan las tareas antes de que se cierren, you won't have any issues. But of course, no dejen para lo último. Anyways, guys, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm gonna stay for a minute so I can just write down who attended class. If you have any questions, you can stay. If not, then I will see you again on Monday. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Okay, Swan Aide, Swan Heidi, cuídate. Josué, Karim, Michelle, Guillermo, Natalie. Have a nice day. Jelianis, Rachel, Nayeli. Jose. Luis and Genesis and Liz Mari, cuídense. All right, so I'm going to go through the chat and see who attended.